Number one would be clarity. Make sure you understand where you're going, who you are, what you stand for. So have clarity around that. And I think that takes time out to think. And for a lot of leaders, as I said before, they're so busy, so overwhelmed, they don't even take time out to think. And I think so. Number one would be the clarity side.
Mm.
Number two would be the communication. How do they communicate? How do they come across? What do they do? How do they do it? That's the key there. They need to communicate. And in fact, I think there's something that a mentor of mine has always said, a guy called John Maxwell, and he talks about everyone can communicate, few can connect. And it's the
Mm.
connecting piece that's really, really important. So I think so. Number one is clarity. Number two is communication. In other words, connecting. Number three, I think a lot of leaders need to have courage, be bold, be out there, because for us to go in other places in the world today, whether it's in business or whatever you're doing, you have to have that courage. You have to have the ability, the willingness, the guts to step up and step out there and do things, where a lot of people are now too scared to do it because is it PC? Is it okay? Am I doing this? And I'm just going to encourage them to have courage and be bold and go out there. So that would be the three areas. You do. And then there's I think we're being judged as leaders all the time. So if you go down to your local supermarket, I don't know what you call it in your part of the world, but supermarket, grocer,
Supermarket
things.
works. Grocery
Yeah,
store.
it works. Yeah, good. And if you're going down there and then some of your employees see you there, you're being judged. So it's not just in the workplace, it's outside the workplace as well. It's a bit like a sporting player. They're being judged on the field and off the field. It's the same thing as a leader, on the field and off the field. We're being judged all the time. So how we show up, what we do, so forth. So much so, let's say you and I are standing in a room. We're in a workshop somewhere, we're in a meeting, and we're on one side of the room, and we happen to be pointing at a poster that's on the wall. But there's a couple of people in between us and the wall. Now, they could actually take, their perception could be that we are actually talking about them
Hmm.
when we're actually pointing to the poster. And so people will read into things a little bit different. So we have to be a little bit careful about how we say it, what we say, and what we show and do with people. Well, I think you have to be motivated first, right?
Hmm.
It goes back to what we were saying before. You need to have that energy for sure. But I think that a lot of organizations nowadays, they're not hiring people to motivate them. You already are hiring motivated people. Our
Good
role is
point.
to go out there and inspire them, right? I mean, that's what we want to do. It's how you take top talent people, and that's what you want to do, is you want to attract the talent, and then how do you give them the opportunity for them to really excel and take off? That's the key. That's what we want to do, and give them the platforms to allow them to do it. So I think that's really important. But you've got to be motivated yourself. You have to be. And then a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be rah-rah. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you need to be motivated. You need to have that purpose. And I
Hmm.
think for a lot of people, Greg, is they don't actually have a purpose in life,
Hmm.
or they don't actually have a purpose in what their role is. And so what they tend to do is they tend to be on autopilot, and they just take day in and day out just doing what they're doing. And that's not always helpful, right? It's not with purpose, which means they don't step up with confidence, which means there's lack of clarity, which means they don't communicate well, which means, so there's a whole downflow effect.
So when you're working with folks, are you working with them on their personal purpose as well as kind of their business purpose? Are you going that deep?
Yeah, starting off with their personal purpose first, because I think that, see, for a lot of people, the way I work with them is where they're going in the next 5 years, right? So it's a blank canvas. Where do you want to go? There'll be some stepping stones to get there, which could be jobs, could be businesses, whatever. But those stepping stones is what I call vehicles. They help you get from where you are to where you want to be in 5 years' time. Some people they just don't have clarity around it, or they're not sure. They doubt themselves. So if I get them clear on their purpose, then that tends to help with the purpose of the business and other areas as well, because it starts to shine through.